Squid Game. The first part of this review will be spoiler free. I'll just be talking about some of the premise of the show, but I won't give anything away, and I'll just give you, a good little review, and then later on we will talk spoilers. Now, of course, Squid Game, this is a thing that's sort of taken over the internet. I'm sure you're seeing it everywhere, all over social media. I've seen it all over social media. You think, what the hell is Squid Game? And then I had people at work telling me about Squid Game, how I should watch it, how I should check it out, and I was a little bit, always am. When a show gets hyped up, you think, God, why is everyone talking about this show? It makes you sort of turn against it and not want to watch it. But the thing that drew me in was the fact that it was a Korean show. I was like, you know what? I've liked what's come out of Korea recently. I've only seen 2 Korean films. That was Train to Busan and Parasite, but I liked them both a lot. I really like the style of Korean stuff. It's a very different culture to what we have, in the UK and, of course, in the US, and it's almost kind of alien to us. I feel like it's a very different world over there in Korea. So it was Korean. I was like, you know what? I'm going to check this out. I like the premise. It sounds cool. Why not give it a go? Now, this is a show about several individuals who are given the opportunity to participate in a game, a mysterious game where they will win a huge amount of money, equivalent to 40 million US dollars roughly, or about 38 million US dollars. So life-changing money for them. And, they're in debt, so they think, why not? How bad could it be, just to win a game? Now, the games are based on like Korean kid games. It's called Squid Game, and of course, one of the games is Squid Game. It's a game that, I'm not familiar with. I'm not sure anyone else was until they saw what the game was. And it's based on this and 5 other games. They play 6 games overall. You will recognize some of the games, however, some of them, they're a bit more well known. You'll be like, I'm familiar with that game, and so on and so forth. But of course, the players do not realize, however, that elimination in these games results in death, so there's a lot at stake. Originally they're not aware of what they signed up for, so when they get into it, they're a little bit, okay, wow, we've really got to play this right. Now, the show starts with our main character, Gi-hun. I'm going to do my best to say all these Korean names properly. Obviously, it's not how they pronounce it in the show. The way they speak, obviously, they have a certain way of pronouncing it, but I'm just sort of basing it off the spelling roughly. But yeah, Gi-hun, we see, he's got his own financial struggles. We see why he needs the money, for himself, for his family, to really just get his life together. And whilst he is the main character for the first episode, he kind of shares that primary role with several other characters that are introduced throughout the show. These characters include Sang-woo, Deok-su, Jun-ho, Ali, Il-nam, and of course, Sae-byeok. Now, Sae-byeok, I mean, what do I even say? Just, my God, there's a reason everyone's losing their mind. I mean, she's just, what do I need to say? Wow. Okay, I'm sorry, I'll stop. City Boy is up, all that, okay. Distractions. Let's move on. Now, this show does a remarkable job of making these characters likable, despite their flaws, despite, the fact that they're not perfect, the fact that they've got all these struggles, and the fact that they've made mistakes in their past life. And as the show goes on, these characters, they sort of do things that they'd never want to do, diabolical things, unforgivable things, but you still sort of root for them. You still sort of like, I like this character. I don't know why, but I do. And the tension whenever a new game starts is always so high. And it's interesting that these games were based on simple childhood games rather than some diabolical thing. This shows it's not like a torture chamber. It's not like Saw. It's like you've got to do something really disgusting and outrageous. It's just you've got to be better at the game than the other players. And the thing that adds the stakes, of course, is the consequences. The consequences are huge, so you really, really do not want to lose. And of course, this is pressure that adds up and, makes the players so determined to come out on top, but it also adds so much pressure, makes them nervous, and it makes them do things they would never usually do in order to win. And, deaths are hard to see coming a lot of the time. Obviously, you kind of, when you get to know who your main characters are going to be, you sort of assume it's not their time yet, it won't be them. But, actually, it's not a case of, like, not to be spoilery or anything, but it's like, oh, everyone's just going to make it to the end. It's a case of where you are going to lose people along the way, and it will surprise you, and some of them are pretty sad as well. You lose a certain character, and it stays with you. You're like, damn, why them? Now, on top of the players, of course, there's the group running it, the mysterious group, the people in the pink outfits with the shapes on their face. They kind of just took the PlayStation buttons, and, that's used to, like, assign ranks. I can't remember exactly what the thing is. I think triangle's sort of the lowest, soldier, and then I believe you've got square and then circle, if I'm correct. If not, it's circle then square. But either way, these people are really mysterious. They've always got masks on. You never see their face. And that was really, really cool. And, you don't really see any of these masked people, not at all until very, very late on in the show, last couple of episodes when you start to, get a bit revealed and you see some faces behind the masks. Now, of course, these secrets and the mystery behind the game and the people orchestrating it all, that remains until the last couple episodes when truths are revealed. And, of course, when you do that with a show or a movie even, you run a risk, of course, with build-up and hype. You wonder, is it going to live up to the expectations, because everything before that is so damn good, and you're just worried, like, is it really going to slap the way I want it to? But it does for me. Like, when it comes to ending and truth revealed, I was surprised at times, and I was like, wow, that's really cool. I didn't see that coming. Like, I was genuinely shocked, and, I didn't see what they had planned, in this overall storyline to come about by the end of the show. I found these big reveals satisfying. It certainly lived up to the story they told before. I just got to say, watch this show. It won't disappoint. As I said, when a show's hyped up this much, you think, oh, I'm just not going to jump on that bandwagon. I don't want to. And I know some people were disappointed by the ending or from certain reviews I've seen, but I think it was all great. I think it's all worth watching, and it's certainly something different. What I will say as well is you should watch this show in Korean. When you first start watching this show, it will automatically dub it, so it'll be like American voice actors over the Korean actors, but I prefer just watching it in Korean, hearing the real voices, matching the emotion, all of that, and then just watch it with the subtitles. It's a fascinating language, to be fair. It's a great language to listen to. I think that's the way to watch it. I really feel like that's the best way to watch this show, and I would encourage you to do the same. I mean, not everyone wants to watch something in a foreign language, but it really kind of keeps you in, and it's one of those where you can't look away, because you can't look away and then just hear what someone's saying. Like, you've actually got to always keep your eyes on the screen so you know what's being said at all times. So yeah, watch it in Korean. Korean film and TV is really, starting to stand out. Like I said, I haven't seen much. I've only seen like 3 products of Korean film and TV, but it's really impressed me. And this is a show that has really stayed in my head since I finished it the other day, which I think is the sign of a good show. It's left its mark, it's left an impact on you. The fact that you're still thinking about it. I'm still thinking about it when I finished it a few days ago. It really leaves you sort of pondering it. And yeah, great show. I would give Squid Game a 9 out of 10. So let's talk about spoilers. Let's talk about the secrets and the big reveals that we finally got in those last couple episodes. Now, obviously, we have our undercover cop, Jun-ho. Now, he's gone investigating. He sort of sneaked his way onto the island where the games take place because his brother's been missing for a while. And he finds one of the cards, and he recognizes it because he saw Gi-hun with the card, and he thinks, okay, I've got to go explore this because maybe I can finally find my brother. Now, alongside this, you have the leader of the group that are running the games. He's called the front man, and obviously his identity is a mystery. We wonder who it could be, and the only thing that crossed my mind as to who it could be is Jun-ho's brother. Whether that would make much sense, at the time of pondering that, I wasn't really too sure, but it was the only thing I could think of. It's like, well, that's the only character we've heard about but haven't seen. And then we've got a character that we've seen, but we don't know who it really is. So we just think, okay, it's got to be Jun-ho's brother. And when Jun-ho gets to the island, he does some snooping. He has to sort of stay undercover, but he does some snooping. He finds out that his brother won the game in 2015, I believe the file said, when he was looking at all the prior records, because the game's been going on, I think, for over 20 years. Now, the show is set in 2020, so he's been missing for 5 years. And yeah, Jun-ho finds out that his brother had, in fact, been the winner of the games in 2015. So obviously begs the question, why didn't he go back with the money? Why did he become employed, and become the front man for this thing? What was it that persuaded him to, leave his old life behind, not come back, and then, not be in contact with his brother, all of this stuff. Now, the thing is with this subplot, even though it was like a bit of a surprise, and it's like, oh, he actually won a former game, it didn't really make the most sense to me in terms of why he was the front man. Of course, that's the whole mystery behind it. Why is he the front man? Why would a winner stay on and become part of the game? And, if he'd been missing for so long as well, why had it taken Jun-ho so long to find the card? And of course, ultimately, Jun-ho does get shot by his brother, but we can't say for sure if he's dead. I mean, he did shoot him sort of around the heart area, and then he fell off a cliff into the water. But with this, show, if you don't really see a player properly killed, you can't actually be certain that they're dead. But it just didn't really make the most sense to me as to why he shot his brother. But that's not me being critical of it. It's just, obviously there's questions to be asked here. There are some loose ends that, need to be tied up. Why does the game mean so much to Jun-ho's brother that he would, shoot his own brother in order to, keep the secrets and all this stuff. It really is, a big question, sort of the biggest question left from this show. But, these are questions that might ultimately be answered in a future season. We'll see one day. Now, the other big secret, of course, was Il-nam, who was the old man. Now, it turns out that he was the orchestrator behind the entire thing. He sort of got people together and created this game on this island and got people to participate. And, when they first showed he was still alive come the end of the show, I thought, oh, here we go, there's going to be a twist that just isn't really going to make sense, and it's just something they sort of pulled out last second. But it wasn't that at all. But, after his speech and his explanations to Gi-hun, it does make sense. It certainly makes things make sense in general for the show. I really like what Il-nam said about money. Like, what is it that poor people and, people with too much money have in common? And it's that living is no fun for either of them, because the people with all the money, the chase is over, there's nothing to do with all the money, they're just bored. And then, of course, people with no money just can't live, so they're both sort of in a similar boat. Il-nam is a rich man, hence why he created the twisted game. What his entire motivations for making this specific thing with his money, of course, that's down to him. But, he created this game because it's bringing him entertainment, and, it was giving him something to do with his money and providing him with something. And, as he's getting older and as he's dying, he realizes that he doesn't just want to watch the game again. He wants to actually participate in it and, enjoy part of it and get involved. And that's why you always see him smiling, and it's of course also why he's player one, because he was the first one in there, because he put himself in there before anyone else was recruited. And of course he's the only genuine old person in the show as well, so he was a bit of a standout, an anomaly compared to the rest of the characters. There's always something a little bit strange about how he was there, of course, and the fact that when some of the characters went home after the first game, before returning, Gi-hun bumped into Il-nam, in the hometown. You think that's a bit coincidental, isn't it? I mean, I think this twist did somewhat take away from some of the special moments, with Gi-hun and Il-nam, because they formed a really nice bond, a really nice friendship, and you almost think, does that take, the genuine side out of it? But then when you think about it, it doesn't, because Il-nam was genuinely enjoying himself, and he was genuinely friends with Gi-hun. Il-nam really got lost in the game, and as he said to Gi-hun, it was like the best time he'd had, being friends with Gi-hun and, really having a good time, having friendship, and experiencing that fun again, just like he did when he was a kid. And of course, this hurts Gi-hun, because he was really fond of him, and he hated the fact that he kind of had to betray Il-nam in their final game together involving the marbles. So obviously that did hurt him to an extent, and then you kind of lose that. He loses some of that guilt, because he's like, what was it all for if he was just playing me the whole time? But, this twist certainly surprised me, and it ultimately didn't let me down. Now, of course, in the end, Gi-hun, he wins the game, he wins all the money, but he doesn't end up spending a penny of it, because, it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth the money. It wasn't worth all the loss he suffered. He became friends with people, and he lost them all, hence why he can't spend the money. He knows the attachment to it, he knows what the money is, and he just can't use it, because it's probably just bringing back all the memories and everything that happened on the island. And this applies to us as a viewer as well, because, the thought of the money doesn't even excite us as a viewer. We're not excited for a certain character to win the money, because when you just lose all these characters that you become really attached to, you think, damn, I'd rather just scrap the money and have all these great characters back and see them living happy, rather than one person winning and being rich. Now, of course, the ending shows Gi-hun is about to go visit his daughter in America, and he's going across the train station. He's just got off a train, actually. He looks across and he sees the man that originally gave him the card, the one that invited him to the game. We're talking to another guy who he's trying to get involved in a game. So Gi-hun goes to confront him, but the guy gets on the train instead, and gets away from him. Funny thing about this as well is the guy who gives out the cards and who gets on the train in the end is actually the main character in the film Train to Busan, which is of course another Korean film. So maybe there's a little Korea verse going on here, where that guy gets on the train and then a zombie outbreak happens. Just a theory. But Gi-hun, however, he does take the card from the guy who had been given the card from the man on the train. Sorry, this isn't easy with names. I'm doing my best to be clear here, but he does take the card and he does, of course, call them up. And, the thing that's finally given Gi-hun some drive after his experience where he's kind of been miserable after the whole game and winning the money is that he wants to sort of expose this. He wants to shut it down. It's like he wants to get personal revenge on all the people that were lost and, you know, the things it did to him, like emotionally and stuff. He wants to get back at them. And, you know, he wants some closure on this. He wants answers to his questions. And this would explain, I think, why, you know, things were left unanswered with the front man. You know, why he was partaking in it and all this sort of stuff. I think it makes sense. They are probably trying to set this up for another season, but I mean, I've looked into it, and the director, the guy who wrote and directed it, he sort of said, you know, it's going to be a big project if he's going to do it again. It's not really top of his priority list right now. He probably just wants to take a breather because this looked like an incredibly hard show to make, and, you know, he probably wants to think about it and really get it right if he is going to come back and make another season. Now, of course, one thing worth mentioning is everyone died. You know, all our characters died apart from Gi-hun. And unfortunately, Sae-byeok died, you know. That was a sad one. I was like, what the why? Kind of wanted her to win, even though I love Gi-hun. I was like, I kind of want her to win, or at least both of them to win. That would be nice. Now, of course, there was that condition in the game as well, where if a majority of players voted that they wanted to stop playing, they could leave the game. So it would have been a case of they could both just said, fuck the money, and get out of there, you know? But ultimately, she died thanks to Sang-woo, a character I did like originally, but that was like the final nail in the coffin. I was like, damn, fuck this guy. He's done Ali dirty, and now he's done Sae-byeok dirty, you know? Fuck you, Sang-woo. Now, my friend Joe made a good point here in the fact that, you know, her number wasn't called out when she died, you know, so is she really dead? I mean, I think she is. You know, she got a knife to the throat by the looks of it. You can't really tell what the damage was because she was kind of going unconscious anyway. And then on top of that, you know, she did get cremated, but was it like a thing where she wasn't really in the box? I mean, I assume she's dead. It does not seem like there's a way out of it, but it's not entirely impossible. And, you know, same for Jun-ho, the undercover cop. It's not entirely impossible that he's still alive, but we'll have to see. It'd be great if they were both still alive, because if they do make another season, we're only going to have like two characters that we know from the season before, being the front man and Gi-hun. But, you know, I've got to say, everyone in the show put in unbelievable performances. Great acting. You know, the characters you're meant to hate, you hate. The characters you're meant to love, you love. Just outstanding performances. Really good. All round by everyone, apart from the VIPs. Now, the VIPs came in, I think, episode 7, which was called VIPs or something. They were just atrocious acting. It really was. I don't know why they just didn't get, like, Koreans, you know, more Korean actors for that part as well, for the VIP roles. I understand it's like a global thing. Let's get these people from around the world to come and look. But the acting and the writing for that was just really bad. It kind of takes you out of it because you see quality Korean acting during the game, and then they show you the VIPs and it's just these obnoxious Americans, and you just sort of think, oh gosh, like, you don't even want to listen to them. It's so annoying. I understand the idea. You know, I've got no problem with the idea of having these VIPs that come in and watch the game, you know, but just the execution of it, not very good. But thankfully, they weren't in it for very long. But like I said, 9 out of 10 for this show. It wasn't perfect. I can't say it was a complete masterpiece, but so many elements were good. The cinematography, just the style, the music was really good, of course. I love a good soundtrack. The acting was really good majority of the time. Not perfect, but very near to perfect. And this is a great show. One of the best shows that Netflix has come out with. Of course, you know, you give credit to Netflix, but I think more than anything, they're just the platform and the funding. Of course, they give these shows a chance. That's the thing with Netflix. So you got to give credit to them for that. But, you know, all credit has to go, well, majority has to go to the writer, the director, who was actually the same guy. He wrote and directed this, and all the actors, and just everything, the costumes, all brilliant. So yeah, Squid Game, 9 out of 10. Please watch this if you haven't seen it. You will like it. And if you have seen it, do let me know what you think about it. If you got any theories. But yeah, watch this in Korean with subs. Don't watch the dubs. Subs over dubs. See you in the next one.